Hey folks, how y'all doing today? We're trying to get everything set up and rolling this morning, and I'm excited about where we're going. I can tell you that much. Seems like we've got just a tad of a something running in the background causing the computer to act up just a little bit this morning. We're not quite sure what that is, but we are watching it. Hope everybody's doing great. I believe that we are live right now, and we're kicking it up and doing some stuff. But it's interesting watching our computer. But hey, let's get on today. We're talking, men's secrets, the secrets that men keep. That's what we're focused on this morning. Focused on for quite a bit of time. I love this book. It's helped me. But as I got into it, we started thinking backwards. And you guys know I journal everything. So in journaling and in focusing and looking at what's out there, I started to realize as I went through these chapters, wow, this is some pretty heavy stuff. And I got to the part where it talks about parents' expectations and the heavy weight that it plays in a man's life. And I thought back, there's a good point here, because I swore I would not become like my dad. And in a lot of ways, I'm not. I'm very loving. I tell my kids I love them all the time. I tell my wife I love her all the time. I support her in everything that she does. There's a lot of things that I've done different. But I've also found that there's a lot of my temperament that is like my dad's. Growing up in a violent family, growing up in a culture where power was demonstrated by force, I guess you could say. My dad was a union steward with the HAFA and the Fitzsimmons organizations. I mean, I saw a lot of that. My dad worked, well, I should say had lots of friends in organized crime. It was just interesting growing up in that family. My uncles, one of them was a professional cleaner for an organized crime family, and so I saw a lot of violence. And over the years, we've grown out of that. As most of you know, as a bounty hunter, I was a bail bondsman, so violence did play a major role early in my career. But as I got closer to the Lord, first of all, and I started really focusing on me, wanting to be something different, I did realize just how much I'd become like my dad. And one thing that I always realized, I didn't realize probably till I was an adult, was the fact that I needed some type of validation from my dad. See, my mom used to teach me, you can do anything you want to. Now, she'd whip the tar out of me, too. And she was a little, I don't know, a little on the mental disturbed side and stuff. That was strange. But all I ever wanted was to hear my dad say, I love you and I'm proud of you. Everything I did up until probably, I'd say 5 years ago, was to try to get his blessing of some kind. And I think a lot of men are that way, especially the more that I read on what's there. See, we grow up in this culture that we're influenced by our parents. Now, what I've found is there's a lot of the new generation, the post-millennials, they're growing up and they're wanting to defy, worse than any generation out there, their parents. They don't want anything to be like that. The deal is, parents' influence still is the biggest force in our life. And as men and women, I want you to understand this. There's a lot of times that men, as they're going through their life, it's not that they look at you as a surrogate parent. I want you to know that. But when you start badgering, when you start belittling, when you don't tell your husband how proud you are of him, it does cause this conflict. It's a subliminal internal conflict. And it's an issue that we all have to face. It's an issue that once men realize that it's there, all of a sudden you can work around it. And one of the things that Steve wrote in here that I thought was good is, if a young adult man does not sense or hopefully know that he's been fully accepted by his parents, and most importantly his father, the cloud of parental expectation will potentially hang over his head the rest of his life. Now here's the kicker. My father has raised me since I was 2 years old. He adopted me at 2. I never knew my biological dad. When I went to look for my biological father, he had died in the famous Hyatt hotel accident in Kansas City. I never got a chance to meet him. He was a top executive for a major insurance company. Very well respected in the community. lots of money, owned some hardware stores. And my mom had been his secretary, and I think you can get the rest of the picture there. So I've never met my sisters, my brothers, never met his side of the family. And when I went to see who he was gone. Inside somewhere, they tell me that kind of played a role in some of the stuff I did. So then I went back to the only dad that I've known that's raised me since I was 2 years old, and tried to take and build a relationship, except that there wasn't a relationship there. It was always one-sided. He did the best he could. I love my dad to death. But that is something that I had to deal with. Now, logically, the brain would tell you that there's got to be something that I haven't done right. And that's what I always thought. I thought, okay, my dad doesn't accept me. This isn't working. What did I do? And that's when, as I started studying for myself, I started realizing everything is generational. See, his dad was an undefeated boxer. If you've ever seen Clint Eastwood's movie, Every Which Way But Loose, or Any Which Way You Can, my grandpa actually was in that type of a circuit. It was called the blacksmith circuit. He was an undefeated, just bare-bone boxer in the Midwest. So my dad grew up with that same mentality. You got to beat your way to the top. And if you're not strong, then you're weak. Well, I would go to Dad sometimes and say, man, I've screwed up. This guy's all ticked off at me. He's going to tell me, beat me up. And instead of working me with the mental, how to grow and work through that, instead he'd say, look, don't come home crying to me. Don't face the music. Either beat him or get beat. And it's like, dude, I'm scared to freaking death. This guy's huge. Those are the things that we go through. Women, you need to understand this. You need to take, if you really want to grow with your husband, then let him know he's got a safe place at home. Let him know he has a safe place in your heart. Let him know that when he shares with you that you're going to listen and understand. You're not going to be judgmental. You're not going to think little of him. See, he needs to have a safe place. And I'm going to tell you one thing, ladies, right now. If a man doesn't have a safe place at home, between the breasts of his wife, where he can just lay his head there and talk to her, he will find it somewhere else. It could be on the internet, just chatting with somebody. It could be a friend at work. It could be as innocent as the day is long. But somebody's going to listen. Somebody's going to take pride in what he does. Somebody's going to give him the accolades that he needs. If you're not getting it at home, you're going to get it somewhere else. It's human nature. I don't care if you say, Troy, I'm a Christian. That had never happened to me. I'm telling you right now, when you say it had never happened to you, you just let your guard down. Folks, live life like it's an epic adventure. We will see you top of the hour tomorrow. Bye now.